Chris Liss was in the same NFBC draft as me, although not in person. We're going to go over everything that is about that draft, who our most rostered players are, and opening day news, all next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with Chris Liss from Real Man Sports. And, of course, you can just follow Chris on Twitter at Real Man Sports, or you can also just follow him on Christopher_Liss. Or Chris_Liss. Chris, always good to hang with you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Jeff. I'm excited to talk about this draft that I dominated, that we were in. And, yeah, that was the main event is so intense. Like, I'm just so stressed when I'm doing it because I'm just keeping my eye on so many different things at once. Mm-hmm. And it's such a mentally, it just takes all of your mental faculties, to keep track of positions, categories, who's got what, who might take what, your cheat sheet, what ADP is versus what you think might slip. I mean, it's just really, it just takes concentration for 3.5 hours straight.
Yeah, it's the big draft of the year. It's the one I look forward to. There's nothing quite like the spectacle of a live main event draft, too. And you didn't get to do the live aspect of it this year, but you've done it before. There were 8 drafts now, Chris, in Vegas going off all at once. It was really kind of cool to see. And that was one thing. There was 3 people across the room that were online. You were one of them. And it wasn't like you signed up for it to be online in a main. Greg asked you to move into a live one there to help us out.
It's just so funny. This is so unimportant, but it's a hilarious aside that, so what happened was, I signed up for the online because I knew I wasn't going to Vegas. And then, Greg gets a certain amount of signups for the online leagues, and maybe he gets 48 for 45 spots or whatever it is. And he's like, is anybody willing? Because, it depends who signs up for what. It's not exact numbers, right? So he's like, are any of you willing to move into the live Vegas events as the online guy? Does anyone mind? Just because, for the numbers to make them work. And I immediately was like, I'm totally in. I love going against the guys, the OGs that are in Vegas. I know that the Vegas drafts are going to be filled with the OGs, and that's who I like drafting against, right? And he's like, oh, great, thanks. A lot of people don't like doing that because of that, because the OGs, it might be a harder league, they think, because it's guys who make the trip and do multiple leagues. Usually people do more than one when they're there. Right. And so, and I'm like, no, that's who I want to be drafting against. Okay, so no big deal, not a big deal. If that didn't exist, I would have not even known. I would have just been in the online, or if he never offered or whatever, or if he said, oh, 3 people beat you to it or whatever, I wouldn't care at all. It was just he asked, I said, sure. So then on Twitter, a bunch of totally nutless monkeys, I mean, the nutless of the nutless, are like, hey, what the hell? That's a huge advantage to draft at home and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you think I'm doing this 11-dimensional chess, trying to carve out some infinitesimal edge? Ooh, I'm at home. I've got my 2 big monitors. I'm going to crush all of you. This is my plan. Hopefully I'm in Phil Dussault's league and I've got an extra monitor. It's going to be a huge edge against him.
I'd rather avoid the robot,
I don't even care. I just want to play against all those guys as much as I can. And it is good to have a second monitor, and if whatever. But this is the last thing on my mind, and just the whole idea. And then I was like, one of the guys, he deleted the tweets. I was like, are you even in this league, or are you just busybodying? And he deleted his tweet because he wasn't even in the league, this guy. He's just busybodying. This could ruin somebody's experience at the main event that you're doing this. It's first of all, fuck off, right? I'm not doing anything. I just said okay. And second of all, it's going to ruin somebody's experience. I mean, just these busybodies, these concern trolls, and I don't know. It's not important at all, but it was just very funny that I said, it was multiple people. It wasn't one person. It was 5 different people were getting, but I don't know about that. That's a big edge. And it was ridiculous.
And a couple of people back down when they found out the real story too. I
wasn't angling to get in. I know, but
right.
It just, but what are you even busybodying about? I mean, it'd be one thing if you were in the league. Even then, who cares? I would never care about that. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to crush that dude. Who cares if he's got 2 monitors? I'm just going to take better players than him. I mean, that should be your attitude. I'm not I don't want to be in Phil's league. I want to be in Phil's league. I want to crush Phil because Phil's the best player, or he's one of them. There's a few of them, but like,
Mm-hmm.
that's who I want to play against. I want to beat them. I want to win the main event league. I want to win my league, and I want to beat the best guys. And that's what's fun, right? I mean, nobody has a monopoly on what's going to happen in the season. And if you're plugged in and make good decisions, you can beat those guys. And that's the fun of it. And, just this attitude of like, oh, I'm a poker grinder and I want to play against a tourist. And, if I'm going to avoid the table with the regulars. And this is not the mentality for this. Like, just
No.
you do something, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like that's just a weak-minded person who has a broken spirit. I mean, this is for fun. This is fun, right? What are you going to, your EV is going to be plus 200. Well, oh no, my EV is going to be minus 50 in this way, but it'll be plus 150 by joining this league if I do it that way. I mean, come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we don't get to choose our league mates either for the Saturday leagues. I mean, we just find out it's just revealed. Oh, this is the first time you and I have been in a league together. First of all, we didn't.
You and I can make some shady trades now. We could trade. Oh, there's no trading allowed. That's the problem.
Yeah, but there, some people like, oh, you want a bum hunt or things like that. That's the poker parlance there. I gave Phil crap because he on Sunday was in the same league as the Rogue Drafter, which is pretty amazing. And all that.
Who's the Rogue Drafter? Is the guy just taking guys way out of turn ADP?
Well, yeah. Well, so 2017, I guess you weren't. I don't know if you were there for that, but Seattle and Oakland had a 2-game series overseas that year. And this guy pushed up all the Seattle and Oakland players, like Hunter Strickland in the 4th round, Ryan Healy in the 6th round. Remember Ryan Healy? He had like a couple hits in that.
Why would you just be in first place after one day?
Basically, is what had happened.
You spend $1,750 to like screenshot the first place in.
That's I suppose. But also, I think it's just, I don't know. I thought it might be like you like it. But that guy was back this year, and he did a Sunday draft, and he took Luis Campusano in the 6th round. I mean, it's like he had a couple of hits in that Korea series against the Dodgers. It's just, I guess.
What is he mentally ill? All right. Doesn't understand the rules. Just super rich and just thinks it's hilarious. Like it's worth lighting 1750 on fire. Or, I'm not going to explanation for this guy?
Yeah. I'm not going to speak for him, but I guess he likes the attention too, I suppose, but, I don't know, but anyhow, Phil Dussault was in that league with him. And I think Lindy might've been in that league with him too. I don't think they were tracking him down. I think it was just happenstance, but
yeah, I mean, that's good luck. That just like gives everybody a better team, in that league for the overall. And that is an edge, but it is what it is. And the thing is like, you don't really like, nobody knows. Like, I'm really pissed because Paul Sewald, I have in all 4 leagues. And I said this is my advice, Jeff. This is my most sound advice is never draft the guy who suddenly comes down with a long-term injury. Like never draft Garrett Cole, Devin Williams, Sewald, who out of nowhere, there's no way to know in advance, suddenly has an injury that's long-term.
That's sage advice. Some of your best advice you've ever given. Maybe the single best item that you've ever given there.
Look, if you know how to do that, if you have that skill, you're way up on everybody. But yeah, like nobody really knows, what's going to happen. And all the analysis, oh, I like your team. I really like what you did there. I really don't like what you did there. It's like 1 month into the season, it's like, it's not, you could just, it's all throw that in the garbage.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you've always said, and I've repeated is don't overreact to spring training stats. Also, don't overreact to the first week of the month of the season, first opening day stats or any of that. Don't overreact to the regular season too, because you can easily do that with the initial things there of that nature there all the time. I mean, hell, I kind of did anyhow. So I'm at the one, I had the 1-1 spot there at the 2-3 turn. All these aces are going off the boards. I'm not getting any of them there. 2 weeks ago, I would have considered Yamamoto there, but because he got crushed against the Padres and you're not going to use that for those first 2 starts. I didn't want to take him at the turn. I also don't know if I would have taken him anyhow, but I just took him out. I mean, the Dodgers saw fit to give him this mega contract, but yet I'm not willing to push him up among those aces. It's interesting there, but I might have committed that.
The Dodgers should have cut him. They should have cut him after that.
Real man would have.
Yeah. Tell him like, this guy sucks. Why did we waste this money? Yeah. Just go pitch somewhere else.
Yeah. Hey, let's pull up the screen and we can talk about this here. And you are team 13. I'm team 1. Team 13. Did you like the draft spot? How did you do your KDS?
It was my 13, 14, 15 were my last three spots in that order. I wanted to be second. I wanted to take Strider. And then if the person drafting first had the balls to draft Strider, which in this league they didn't,
Clearly.
then I would take Acuna happily at 2. So I thought 2 was a good place to pick. And Strider actually went third in our league, but third, you certainly had no guarantee of getting him. I just felt Strider was tier 1, and then there was no tier 2. And then you have like Burns Wheeler as tier 3, and then the rest of the pitchers start kind of tier 4. And so you have this huge edge for getting Strider. And then you have the inflation that happens. So think about inflation like this in the 15 versus the 12. Imagine the 12 is like a 65-35 or a 68-32 split on your dollar values.
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine the 15 is like a 62-38 split on your dollar values, and then redo the values with those different splits. And you're going to see that the pitchers get pushed way up the more money that's allotted to pitching. And I think that's kind of what happens in the main, is just more money proportionally in the early rounds is allotted to pitching. And then you take out Cole, and you take out some of the what's his name, Yuri Perez and a couple guys, and then even more money gets apportioned to the top healthy starters. So I thought Strider was probably the 1.1, although Acuna, obviously, if he does anything even close to last year, is the 1.1. But I think there's going to be a lot of regression, and that's not saying anything bold at all. So I didn't want to be 13. I had like after 1 and 2, I had like 8, 9, 10. I wanted to get Tatis, Soto. Those were the guys I was looking at. And I really did not want to be where I was, but I actually think it worked out okay.
Yeah. So let's get to that here. You took Trey Turner. We saw Ellie De La Cruz, real man draft at team 10. Dave Klum, veteran NFBC player, takes Ellie at 110, which pushes everybody else down one notch on that board there. What was Turner the guy you were hoping for? Who were you hoping for?
Absolutely, Turner. So I was hoping for Soto, who does go 13 every once in a while, but realistically, I didn't. It was like 10% chance Soto would make it to me. But Turner is there like 40%, or I don't know. You could go through all the drafts and see, but 30-40%. There's a good chance I would get Turner. But I was preparing as though he was gone because his ADP was 12. So if it went, the way it was going, and I used it's always like a choice when you cheat sheet between, are you going to use a whole week of ADP or the last 4 days? You get a bigger sample, but you get, a more recent versus a more recent sample. But anyway, the cheat sheet I had, Turner was the 12th overall player. But when De La Cruz went at 10 and Burns went 11, I said, great. Freeman or Turner, that I was going to have a choice between those guys. I guess I would have taken Freeman. I'm not as sold on him. Turner, the big negative is Schwarber leads off there, right? So Schwarber gets on base at 400 clip, 380 or whatever it is. And so he's clogging first base when Turner's up. So if Turner walks or gets a single, he's not stealing second if Schwarber's already on first, right? So I think that limits Turner's stolen bases a little bit, batting second behind Schwarber. It's not right. Ideal, but I still think he'll steal 30, and I still think he'll hit 20 home runs. And I think he's like a 290 hitter. I know he started out really badly last year. So you're getting, 20, 30, 290, and there's upside for 25, 35, 300. And that was just kind of easy. If he were gone, if it went to form, I would have taken Alvarez there at 13.
So you were psyched to get Alvarez in round 2 then. Maybe having a choice between Harper and Alvarez. I mean, I think that would, I'd have a hard time holding off on either of those guys sitting where you're sitting there. Although it means that you're not necessarily not getting one of those aces.
Yeah, no, I was pretty committed to 2 hitters. I just feel like going Wheeler with that first pick again. He's like a huge step down from Strider. And I just was like, this isn't like he's barely behind Strider. Okay, I'll take him. And I think Burns is behind those guys a lot too, behind Strider by a lot too. He hasn't been the same guy since a couple of years ago. He's good, but nothing special. And so I wanted 2 hitters, and I almost took Ohtani there because I was pretty sure
you're a real man.
A real man would have taken Ohtani. There's no doubt. I'm a nutless monkey. But and I was like at that pick, it was I had Alvarez, Judge, and Ohtani queued up in there, and I was like really trying to feel it. I was like, I was willing to take Alvarez in the first round, and I love the batting average. I love him and Turner, the batting average, such a good start. And Ohtani's a DH, which sucks also. But I was just like, I just wrote something saying they're not going to do anything to Ohtani. And I think the last we'll ever hear of it is already happened. Like they're never going to mention this again. This is going to get memory hold like nothing ever happened. But I was like, is it going to affect him mentally, psychologically? Does he care? Is this embarrassing to him? And I was sort of like, that was weighing on me a little bit. The remote possibility, because remember, it was before the press conference that like some smoking gun came out, and I guess it still could, that like, oh, here's absolute proof that Ohtani, video with him and the bookie talking or something, So I just was like, I like looked into my gut and I was like, I guess I just want Alvarez. I was willing to take him in the first round. And then the batting average base with Turner and Alvarez is just such a strong way to start your draft.
Yeah. Our league, I think, was the max pick on Ohtani, at least through like Sunday. I think maybe during the week, someone dropped a little lower. But yeah, it wasn't just you passing on him. And, it was a number of people doing it twice. I saw Ohtani go as early as 5 or 6 in some main events over the weekend. So there's some people that just no problem with it there. But I think it's not just the gambling thing. I think it's also the elbow. I think it's also the UT only thing is another thing to kind of stay away from that. I don't like
UT. I'm not worried about the elbow so much. I mean,
okay.
I feel like he's a hitter, and he's, he looked healthy in spring training and he's ready to go at the start of the year. If they give him that contract, and he wasn't 100%, I think they would pull a Walker Buehler with him and give him a month, to sort of ramp up. They don't need to have him in April if he wasn't 100%. So I think, they're even talking about, now that he's not pitching this year, maybe letting him play some outfield eventually too.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. I'd like to see that. It'd be great to get outfield eligibility for Ohtani. It would just change everything.
I mean, they should get him outfield eligibility, and then if his arm is doing better in like August, September, get him a couple saves, and Phillips is
that Yahoo relief pitcher eligibility too.
Oh, that'd be so sick. That'd be just, the whole thing would be so. I mean, nobody has built I'm sure somebody has built it, but like the full 9 category Ohtani, where all of your players, pitchers don't hit anymore, so this solves this problem. Actually, it used to be like, well, what are you going to do with, remember Madison Bumgarner was okay, and then you'd have to like have this like, do you want to turn the hitting stats on for all your pitchers? Now this isn't a problem anymore, right? So the DH rules fix this. So it's kind of like, look, there's just one guy that gets everything. And Ohtani would be like, you could like put in Acuna's numbers from last year. Like say, okay, you get Acuna's numbers from last year, and you'd be like, do I take that or Ohtani? And you probably take Ohtani's 9 category Ohtani over Acuna from last year. And that's how insane it would be if you're getting, I got 13 wins and 40 homers, and 200 strikeouts. I mean, it would just be, it would kind of ruin the game, but it would kind of, it's almost like worth it, for auctions to have that set up.
You want to see it. Like golf league that I've been in for like 25 years, we had to make a special Tiger rule. Tiger at the peak of his powers just broke the league. It became a race as who could max bid and say the 92 on Tiger Woods and then go with 8 $1 golfers for your other 8 spots. And so then we had to have a coin flip for that. So what we ultimately ended up doing was going, okay, you get Tiger March, you get Tiger April, you get Tiger May, and you bid on those individually. And like the combined Tigers ended up being like $167. And that was the true value.
That was his real market value, would have been, more than a full budget and a half.
Yeah. So, it's really, I mean, hey, who doesn't love a good outlier every once in a while? It breaks systems, but at the same time, it's fascinating stuff. So I love seeing it there. We'll jump into more stuff here in a sec, but we got to take care of some business from our friends at Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, offering the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. Coming from another service, Fantrax makes it easy. Fantrax can import any of your current leagues and customize if needed. Fantrax offers the most in-depth player pool in the industry, including minor league players. Do you need a customizable commissioner service for your fantasy league? Fantrax offers more customization than any other platform. Waivers, categories, scoring system, schedule. Fantrax offers custom solutions for all that and more, and it's all free. Sign up for free today and be entered to win an official MLB signed jersey from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Simply go to fantrax.com/RotoWire and sign up today. That's fantrax.com/RotoWire. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. I'm here with Chris Liss. Follow Chris on Twitter at Chris_Liss. Of course, realmansports.com. Check out everything that Chris has to offer there. Liss, so you got Turner and Alvarez, and you got yet another average guy at 313 and Corey Seager. How awesome did that feel to go ahead and get that windfall? As a result of all these pitchers going early, you had a choice between Seager and Vlad and Altuve and Adolis Garcia. I mean, great hitters there at the 313 spot.
Yeah, I hate Vlad this year. I'm not even sure why.
No,
taking him.
You do.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I think he's like a 6th round pick. I don't know what he's doing in the 3rd, 2nd round. Even I've seen. Yeah, I wanted to get at least one of Gallen and Fried, maybe both, and they were both there. And Logan Webb I liked, but he went, and Yamamoto went a few picks before that. But I just saw Seager sitting there, and I'm like, okay, he's injury prone, and he's not. He had a very short ramp up spring. But he can hit 315 also. And Turner, Alvarez, Seager. I mean, when you get that kind of batting average, first of all, batting average, you and I have talked about this.
Right.
They're a third of the league quits, even in NFBC. They might not like stop altogether.
It might be like a 10th of the league or an 8th of the league in an NFBC. But yes.
Okay. So two teams in the league quit, 2 out of 15.
Right.
And then 4 of them, though, are like doing the moves, but like, you give extra love to your successful teams. You just kind of mail it in for the ones that are, drawing dead. And, and basically when teams quit, like you pass them in the counting categories of runs, RBIs, strikeouts. It's very easy to keep making good moves and pass them. But in the ERA, WHIP, and batting average categories, those are locked, right? Just because some guy's got 3 dead guys in his lineup doesn't mean that you're going to pass him in batting average or WHIP. He may have 2 good, a bunch of relievers in there keeping his WHIP down or his average up. And so I just love just locking that away to get those free points from the stragglers, and especially in the overall. There might be 50 to 100 teams not really making moves. And average, I don't have to, knock on wood. You never know, but presumably I won't have to worry about it. And you're also getting tons of RBIs and power and runs scored. And I have some speed with Turner. So I just thought like, that is just a very strong RBI run batting average and enough power and some speed start. And then of course, I have no pitching, but pitching is the kind of thing that tends to surprise more later in the draft.
Well, and obviously I was relatable to you in having no pitching at that point. I went hitter to start just because I thought the way pitching was pushed up, I just wasn't willing to go that route. I wasn't willing to push Yamamoto up there or Logan Webb at 3-1 or anything like that. I think it was as pushed up as any league had it there. Glasnow, Skubal, Gossman all going in the 2nd round like that. It's like, well, okay, I'll take my chances later on.
It was worse last year in my league. It got pushed up worse. Every like the guys were there at ADP. Like I got Gallen around 4, and that was sort of like around ADP. Fried, was a few picks later who was below. He was above ADP, but I was probably going to get one of those too. But last year I had targets like that. It was like Julio Urias and some other guys I wanted. Thankfully, I didn't get. They all went like they weren't there. Like when I was like, it was Urias and somebody else. I can't remember at the 3. So I went hitter last year. And I was like, all right, well, 3-4 turn. There's like 3 pitchers I like that should be there per ADP. And they were all gone, even though they were like 10 spots below some of them. And so I had to just go hitter again, just because you don't want to be a nutless monkey and cave. You want at some point, you got to say what you did, Jeff. You're just like, well, the value's not there. I'm going to go hitter. So I went Matt Olson and Corbin Carroll at the 3-4 turn last year.
Jeez.
Instead of taking pitchers.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah. So, and I remember that this year, but I thought, you know what? I got to go Seager. I got to do it. And then in round 4, I finally caved and got Gallen, who I like.
Let's talk Gallen here for a second, because he's the one pitcher that hasn't gotten pushed up. I did this thing when I wrote up my article about my draft. I did a comparison of starting pitchers in 15-team leagues in the FBC before the main event, like March 1st and March 12th, versus the start of the main event and just main event leagues. And Gallen's the one guy that didn't go up. In fact, he dropped a couple spots. For whatever reason, NFBC drafters don't like Zac Gallen as much.
Yeah, I'd seen a couple things. I think Dalton wrote something I saw about how he threw the most pitches in MLB last year. And he also pitched deep. They went obviously to Game 7 of the World Series, so that's about as deep as you get. There's that. And the thing I like about him is he had the really good pitchers, they'll have that year with the 2.75 ERA, then they'll have the year with the 3.30 ERA, and it kind of toggles based on luck. And, maybe their stuff is better in a few more games one year, and it's better in a couple fewer games out of 32 starts. you have your best stuff in 12 one year, 10 the next, and it just kind of varies a little bit. But, he was still firmly in that, like, this is a really good pitcher who's consistent, and he only throws like 93. He's not like he's not, knock on wood, like as big of an arm injury risk as a guy who's 22 years old throwing 99. And so I just felt like, you know what, I just want those 190 innings. I want those 200 strikeouts, 190 strikeouts, the 12, 13 wins on a good team. And that's, I just think I don't know. I just don't see any real red flags with him.
Right.
Maybe they pitched and but I think they baby these guys so much, like, oh, his workload. Oh, he pitched in the postseason. Like, all these guys like Verlander and all the horses and Clemens back in the day, like they all pitched deep into the postseason. Randy Johnson, nobody cared. This sort of like babying these guys. I don't know, like the teams may do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'll take him in the 4th round.
All right. Well, and if that's the thing is, like, many years he would go in that same class as like Gossman and Glasnow and Skubal, and certainly in the same area as Webb and Valdez. I think that you got a pretty good price on him. Of course,
are you out on Gallen? Are you? What are your thoughts?
I'm a little wary because I thought I saw him getting hit around a little bit towards the end of the season last year, and that kind of scared me a little bit. But I would have happily taken him at the 4 or 5 turn, but that was never going to happen. But notice I didn't even take a start at the 4 or 5 turn. I'll have to get your opinion on this here when we get to that. But yeah, let's get to it now, actually. So you took Gallen, Gilbert was gone, Peralta was gone, Grayson, who I would have snap called, was gone, Fried was gone, Bobby Miller, Aaron Nola, even Zach Eflin went before me. I thought the next tier of pitching got pushed up crazily too. So I got my closer in Evan Phillips, and I was pretty happy with Evan Phillips. I like him and Andres Munoz at that area there. And they're sitting Machado. Manny Machado last year was like a 2nd round player. And I understand he had a bad year, and he had the injury, and he got taken care of in the offseason, but he's hitting now. I don't care how much he plays in the field this year. In fact, I don't play DH all season. I'm fine with that. I just couldn't pass him up when my pitching options were like Cole Reagans and Joe Ryan and Blake Snell. I like those guys, but I like Machado better. And I'm just like, I feel like the draft is giving me this killer lineup to start. I got to take it, and then I'll just go volume on pitching later. What did you think about that?
I thought you did the right thing. What happened to you this year was what happened to me last year. It was just where you were drafting. If you passed on the 2-3 turn, if you didn't like the values of the pitching on the 2-3 turn, then you just, okay, let's see what I get at 4-5. Oh, it's all gone. And so now I've got to pass again. And it's a little stressful because you're like, shit.
Right. I got to get pitching at some point. Yeah.
I got to push somebody up. I got to overpay at some point, but maybe the overpay won't be as egregious a couple rounds from now, and I'll go more volume, and maybe, it'll settle down a bit. And I think you did the right thing. I mean, I like Machado. I'm very much into the idea of like, this guy's a 2nd round pick. He's in the 5th round. He's basically the same guy. There's nothing really wrong with him. I didn't take Bichette. He went earlier than me, but there's another guy. He was the 1st rounder the last couple of years. Now he's a 3rd rounder. Just don't even.
Well, there's a good reason with Bichette. He doesn't run anymore.
Well, he didn't run last year when he had like a groin injury, but we don't know that he doesn't run. Like he'll probably steal like 12 bases or something, and he could steal 20 for all we know. But the point is just that that the guys that were higher and are now lower, to me, it's sort of like the Chandler. If he displays the skill, he owns it,
right?
And you just know that guy's capable of another big year. And I think just proof of doing it, sort of the proof of work. It's like Bitcoin. Proof of work is so big for these guys. People are analyzing, exit velocity and what could have, should have, would have happened. But I'm like, this guy, the market had as a 1st round pick because he produced. And I just think like, okay, last year was last year. Just forget about it sometimes. Like, as long as the guy's not, lost a leg in the last 12 months, just keep pushing them up. So I like Machado there a lot at the end of the 5th round. I mean, the start of the 5th round.
Yeah, I did. It comes with the cost there, but that's okay. You got your Sewald. Was there a closer you wanted before that if like you're bummed that went out in that 5th round instead?
No, I mean, I like Iglesias, but he went
right after me, after my Machado.
Yeah, he went early. So yeah, Sewald, I was really high on him. It was like he's like a not a crazy velocity guy, he's just a consistent guy on a decent team, in a good environment, a winning team, perfect type of guy that I like. And he just strained his oblique for no reason. But what really, this is the most tilting thing of the draft, was that I wanted Langford and Sewald at this turn. And as I said, I looked at recent ADPs, and Langford was like going a pick after where I was picking in the 6th. I mean, this is just obviously there's variance in leagues, obviously.
Right.
And Sewald was going like 3 picks before where I was picking. So I wanted these two guys. That's how I'd mapped it out. And I was like, all right, give me the guy that's going a little earlier ADP. I'll have a better chance to get them both. But I don't necessarily love taking closers in the 6th round or the 5th round. I usually get them in like 10 to 12, 10 to 15. And wait. And so losing out on Langford, I should have thought it through, was worse than taking Langford and losing out on Sewald, even before the injury. And that was...
It was your NLM moment there, not getting Wyatt Langford.
It was really bad. It was NLM. I had a couple NLM moments, but that was certainly one of them.
Yeah,
not taking Ohtani, not taking Langford.
So Wyatt Langford went 64th in my beat Jeff Erickson on Wednesday night last week before making the trip to Vegas. So I had an idea that was going to happen again, and I knew I had some Langford FOMO, but again, sometimes you're in a spot where you just know that I'm just probably not going to get him unless I really want to get out of line. Instead of Machado, I could have taken Langford. That's what I would have had to have done to get him. And I don't think I was willing to do that, but so it goes.
There's one thing, right? Obviously, Langford could be a total bust, right? We don't know. He's never.
You could be Jordan Walker. That could be
right. Easily. And he hit a lot of home runs off of scrubs this spring, and it could just be like anybody. Kevin Moss in the big leagues hit like 12 home runs in a couple of weeks, or Chris Shelton or whatever. But it's not just a random guy hitting home runs. It's like an elite hitting prospect hitting home runs. That we have reason to believe this is something. And then secondly, the worst analysis I see this all the time on Twitter and elsewhere, where people say, I just don't see any potential for profit in the 5th round. You're taking this guy in the 5th round. There's no profit there. Where's the profit? Where's the possible profit? And what they're doing is they're looking at projections, right, for him. And they're saying this projected stat line in the 5th round, there's no profit. Yeah, his projections, there's no profit. But dumbass, those are just projections. Like would you bet your life that he doesn't go 32, 24, 275, 280? No, you wouldn't bet your life on that. Of course he could do that. That's well within the realm of of outcomes. It may not be the most probable outcome, but it's certainly a plausible outcome that he goes 32, 24, 275. And that's a huge profit at the end of round 5. That would be like, middle round 2 or, early round 2, that line. And that could easily happen. It could be a round 1 line. Look what Corbin Carroll did last year.
That's the example I was going for right there. Absolutely. Yeah. You're never going to profit with a 3rd round Corbin Carroll unless he is a top 5 overall player. Then yes, you did. Yes, you did.
There's no possibility of profit here. I just don't see the reasoning. No, stop looking at projections like that's what the guy's going to do. That's just a guess. And also for rookies, the projections are the most worthless, right? Like if you've got a guy who's got 4 years of major league data and he's on the same team and he's now 27 or 26, the projection's probably pretty good. There's definitely variance, but you've got a lot of data on the guy. He's in the same place. He's the same guy. If he's healthy coming in, he was healthy last few years. You get a rookie, who's seeing major league pitching, learning about it. He could bust. He could blow up. The range of outcomes is so much wider around. There's so much more variance around that projection than for like an established guy also. So it's just, I see people. It's. I'm glad they're doing it because it makes it dumbs down the pool for you, but it's like, come on, guys, you can't say that.
Indeed. Before we move on to the rest of our draft and some other topics here, a couple other commercial notes real quick. It's a new baseball season, and that means it's time for MLB DFS on Rival Fantasy. If you want to make every day draft day, try out Rival Fantasy's daily and weekly MLB best ball. Draft a squad for a single day slate or an entire week of games. Play the matchups and home road splits without worrying about waiver pickups or daily roster management. Drafting isn't your thing? Rival Fantasy has Fantasy Bingo, a salary cap free DFS game. Fill out your squad and try to complete achievements on your bingo card. Get 5 in a row or 4 in a corner to win. Then there's challenges. Pick which player will score more fantasy points in head-to-head matchups. DFS has never been easier. Go to joinrival.com/RotoWire or use code RotoWire at sign up to get a $200 deposit match plus $25 in free entries. If you're ready to play fantasy sports made for sports fans, it's time to play on Rival Fantasy. I actually did one of these a draft last week on Rival on the drive to Vegas. It was fun. It was kind of a bunch of RotoWire guys doing that best ball draft. So it's nice. I can just do it and forget about it there and just check later to see how I did. Also, we're sponsored by Vivid Seats. Finally, baseball is back this season. Knock it out of the park with Vivid Seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, and every eye-popping play of your favorite team, live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you can earn rewards with every single purchase. Just buy 10 tickets, then cash in your credit toward your 11th free ticket. Talk about an easy win. And here's a pro reward tip. When buying tickets for your whole group, split the bill and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2024 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. Finally, we are on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. All right, we have our first strikeout of domestic opening day. Anthony Rendon hating baseball on his walk back to the dugout against Corbin.
I love Anthony Rendon. I didn't get any Anthony Rendon. I meant to get him just for
real man.
The nutless pearl clutching about his comments. It's like people are like, "Oh my God, he just doesn't care about baseball." Dude, do you know what his slash line was for like 3 years from like 2017 to 2020 or something like that? It was like he had like a 930 OPS over like 3 or 4 full major league seasons. And you're like, he doesn't work hard. Oh yeah, you like mediocre commenter on sports is your job. You think this major leaguer that had a 920 OPS doesn't work as hard as you do? You half-assed lazy sack of shit. I mean, it's just like,
really feel.
I mean, it's like what he made a couple of comments that, you know, it's like, oh, he said the wrong thing. He said the wrong thing. He doesn't care about baseball like I do. Like, yeah, right. I mean, come on, get real. Anthony Rendon doesn't work hard in baseball compared to you know, it's like ridiculous.
Well, it was funny seeing the reaction because, you know, there are some people like, okay, you want your guy out there. And the fact is he's played like 40 games a year for the Angels since signing with them. And so I get that reaction a little bit, but there's a lot of commentators like, you know, hey, you want your athletes to speak openly and candidly. You can't just burn them to the ground every time they do that too. And moreover, you know, all the people, you know, cheering on the time, the clock and all that in baseball, they're always complaining about how long games go. Do they hate their jobs too? I mean, come on. You know, it's
well, most people literally hate their jobs. I mean, Anthony Rendon from 2017 through 2020, 4 years, but one of them he had like a half year because he was hurt. He had a 307 batting average, 399 on base, 550 slugging, 949 OPS while playing. I think he won a Gold Glove in that stretch. I know he's a good third baseman at one point. You were talking about like a top fielding third baseman with a 950 OPS over a 4-year span. And you're saying, well, he doesn't have any work ethic. He doesn't know what it means to work. He's ungrateful. It's like, dude, there's just no doubt. There's no doubt. Not only did he work his ass off, as most major leaguers do, he worked like you, unless you're like, you know, breaking some extremely valuable knowledge without which, you know, the industry is not moving forward. I seriously doubt you have half of his work ethic. So, you know, he made some comments about family and other things are more important than baseball, which, you know, are you, that's to me reasonable.
Empirically true. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, people care mostly about their family the most, and they should. I don't know. It was just a lot of pearl clutching. And so I was like, oh, I want to get Anthony Rendon, but I didn't get him. He is a flat tire at this point, and he'll probably get hurt, you know, pretty quickly. And also like the lineup around him isn't actually that terrible, but you know, he's kind of a flat tire.
Mike Trout just went yard. Burns had 2 strikeouts, and then Trout took him deep and hit it into the bullpen 409 feet. Trout had a terrible spring training too, is the funny thing. And you were talking earlier, I think I'm kind of fading Trout this year. I got him in one draft in November, and that's the only league I got him. Of course, he goes yard first at bat against Corbin Burns. I love Mike Trout. Even though I don't have him on my watch this year, I freaking love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Trout's at his peak is one of the greatest players ever to live. He's probably a top 20 all-time player at his peak. And it's unfortunate he's gotten hurt a lot the last few years. But yeah, it's great to see Trout.
Real man Dave Klum got him in our league. He drafted him in the sixth round, actually. So kind of a little on the aggressive side, and good for him. I like that. Dave's a nice guy. I've known him for years. Long time NFBC player. I think he's played almost 20 years in the NFBC. So he's no rookie. And he went De La Cruz, he went Ellie, he went Pablo, went Royce Lewis, Grayson, Seiya Suzuki in the 5th, and Trout. He got CES in this league. Fun time there.
Jordan Walker. He got Henry Davis. Buxton, he took all. He just.
It's a real man's team.
It was the only team with some balls in this entire draft. The rest of this draft, including mine, was nutless monkey all the way down.
All right, so you said you had other nutless monkey moments. What else was there?
Well, I mean, the big ones were I took Alvarez over Ohtani, even though I'm pretty sure Ohtani's not going to get any punishment. But
taking Jordan Alvarez is not nutless.
No. Well, no, but it's nutless because Ohtani runs, and I was talking about how I didn't think baseball was going to do anything. And then the other one was the Sewald Langford. That was just a really
okay.
This before the injury I was tilted, but now I'm like, you can just imagine how tilted I am about that. And then there was this wasn't really nutless, but I took. This may actually be fine, but at the 15-16 turn, I was looking at Hoskins because I need a first baseman, and Josh Lowe, and Hoskins was like 8 spots higher ADP wise, but I really needed steals, and so I was like, all right, I'll take Hoskins here, and I'll hope to get Lowe on the way back, and Lowe at 1 pick before me on the way back, and I should have looked, but the guy Dave DiVincenzo already had Harper and Guerrero as his first baseman, so he wasn't taking Hoskins.
That's Dave McDonald and Tony DiVincenzo.
Oh, okay. DiVincenzo's okay.
Just Dave. It's Dave in the fantasy sports world.
Right, it's like Less Than Dave.
Yeah, Less Than Dave. Yeah.
Or is it Less Than Dave?
There's Run in his Twitter handle too, but Dave McDonald is his name, and he's awesome. He runs the Earth Leagues and all that. And,
so he was laughing because he saw my post on Twitter, and there were a couple times I was tilted by it, because he took Langford, he took Lowe. Now Lowe's out for like a month or so, and I'm actually not upset about it. The problem was just that maybe Team 15 takes Hoskins. They had Tristan Cassis, but that's just one guy, and they had Berger, so he might have taken a corner. So I maybe it was still the right call, but after I didn't look. And I should have looked. It wasn't nutless, which is stupid. Obviously, the Harper Guerrero team wasn't taking Hoskins there. And so I probably should have flipped that over. But that wasn't that big a deal. Those are really it. I mean, I was really happy with my draft. Obviously, the Sewald injury hurts a little bit. But hopefully he's back in 5-6 weeks. And it's not the end of the world.
So, yeah, but it is a good tip about picking near the turn. If you've got 1 or 2 spots there in between you, look and see what they have. Look, if you can, and, because you got a long time before you make your pick. So you should, you'd be lining your guys up, but you also should be looking to see, okay, do they have speed? Do they have saves? Do they have who needs a catcher? Who needs this? Because you're only control for those 2 guys, really. That's a beautiful thing about being on a corner like I was is I got to get 2 guys and no one's coming back to me. And you just got to get your guys, period.
It's easier in a way. It's easier. It's less to keep track of. It's like mentally more relaxing. But you have a different problem, Jeff, which is that
I have many problems, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't mean personally, but feel free to share. We could turn this into this type of segment, but the other problem is you really have to guess, like, okay, is closers the thing that's going to be gone next round? Is starting pitching going to be gone? Is speed going to be, you have to be like, or our catcher is going to be gone. And you have to make these total guesses. And sometimes you guess wrong, right? Like you take something and then there's like 5 of those on the way back. And you're like, dude, I'm 30 picks later and I could easily have taken this guy 50-50. And I totally guessed wrong. And 5 of these other guys I thought would be there are gone. And it's just, So I actually 13 is almost ideal in terms of being able to plan, even though, as I said, I didn't do it. It's almost ideal because 3 teams is too much to plan for up and down. 6 picks is too much. But 2 teams, 1 team, like you get it's the easiest to plan for, but you're not getting as much information. 2 teams is kind of the sweet spot.
Right. So I often like the middle because you get value, you get players falling, but you've talked about the trap of value too. But I do think you don't have to worry as much, about runs as badly. And I mean, not scoring runs. I mean, like runs, particular categories or positions. You're going to get somebody usually in that capacity, in that category, that position, whatever the case may be. But sometimes, there's value also just going, staking the claim and getting your guys sometimes too, reaching out ahead of time there a little bit about that. So, there's trade-offs there. Like, and I felt like I played it pretty well as far as guessing what was coming to me and what was not. Like, I got my second catcher where I wanted to in Ryan Jeffers. I closer market, I had a pretty good feel for it. I feel like we'll see about Romano, how long he's out. I mean, obviously that's going to be a
It
concern,
looks like he's
but
coming back soon. I think that's going to end up panning out.
I think it might too.
It's a lock, Jeff. You're set with that.
Here we go. Here we go.
Congratulations. Great pick. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. So I like Lindor there. I don't like the players that are really available at that 2-3 turn. Obviously Acuna is worth it, but I don't really love the players there. Like, I could easily take Seager and Yamamoto there. CJ
Right.
Abrams, I like, but that would have been fine too. But with Acuna, that's not exactly what you need. But Lindor, I think, is fine. Alonso, I don't love there. I feel like you're getting bad average probably, or quite possibly, and no steals. So you're getting a lot of pop, but you're getting 3 categories at the very start of the third round. And there's just guys like, I don't know, Semien and Abrams and but I just don't like any of these guys that much, at that pick. And so and then the pitchers were dried up, as you said, the ones that you wanted.
How's your way out of that trap then? Who do you take there?
Well, I was, before I found out what my pick was, I was gaming out that, and I was actually hoping to get Strider or Acuna and then having this problem. And I might have if I took Strider, I might have taken like Abrams and, for the steals, and then maybe Seager for the batting average or something like that, although you're getting 2 shortstops. Lindor was a guy that I would have maybe taken also if I had Strider, if I had a pitcher and I want to get a little power speed.
I think I was thrilled to get Lindor there. I thought Lindor was perfectly fine for that spot. And Alonso versus Harris versus Gunnar Henderson versus Semien, I thought they're all in the same neighborhood. The reason I went Alonso is I just wanted the extra power there. In a bad year last year where he hurt his wrist and came back and was horrible. He came back too soon last year, was horrible after. He still had like 45 homers.
He could hit 55. He could pull a Matt Olson this year and just
if he hits like 250, it's a win for me there,
Right. Yeah. I get it. I mean, certainly like there's a case for it. It's just that, you have Acuna and Lindor, you already have, 65 home runs there at least if they're healthy. And it was just, I guess you just value took, right? You just said, okay, I'll have to get pitching later. I won't have to get power later. I won't have to worry about that. I would have probably taken Seager over him, but again, you have 2 shortstops,
right?
But that's not that big of a deal. Some people have Ohtani in the first round, right? So, but I just feel like that batting average, I guess Acuna is such a good batting average guy to begin with that you're not like hurting for it. I guess it's fine. I guess I can see it. I don't like picking there. This is why, like, but it's worth it to get Acuna. I'd rather have Acuna and like 2 guys that I have to just hold my nose and pick than, the guys at the end of the first round and 2 sort of better choices.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. And that is the downside of that spot. That's why I sometimes like the middle there. I thought I liked that start, and I loved Machado there with Phillips, and I love Phillips. It's a question of, did I get enough starting pitching? I think, did I get enough strikeouts in particular? I think that's my weakest spot right now. Justin Steele, Tanner Bybee, Chris Bassett isn't a huge K guy. Ovaldi is solid enough, but not amazing. Sanchez is kind of one of my wild cards. Christopher Sanchez, have him in a lot of places. Now, that's going to be my debate all along. Did I get enough pitching? Because I waited on pitching. I added a bunch of volume late. And so, wondering, did I get enough is the real question. And that's going to be my issue. Your issue is getting healthy outfielders. I mean, you already lost, unfortunately. I mean, you lost, you lost Nootbaar for a start, and Dylan Carlson just got hurt. So
he's my 30th round guy, Dylan Carlson.
Yeah. Did you replace him? Did you get anybody in Fab?
We got Emmett Sheehan. We picked up.
So no, you didn't get another outfielder.
Well, no. Biggio's an outfielder. So we have 5.
Oh yeah, Biggio. That's right.
Yeah. So, and he's going to play a decent amount. I actually like Biggio. I was like, that was a target of mine. Yeah. I'm not too worried about the outfield. I mean, obviously we get injuries. It's a problem, but Nootbaar should be back at some point. And, you can always pick up some like serviceable guys just to get at bats for you if you need to during the year. I feel like I have every category covered. I'm a little light in speed. That's the one thing. And I'm now the closer is a bit of an issue with my top closer out. That's for 6 weeks.
It'll be that way.
Yeah. So that, but I did get Alvarado in the 11th, which I was happy with. And, hopefully Joel Payamps.
You got him in the 21st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair price. Payamps versus Uribe versus McGill, and they said they're going to pass it around. We'll see. I think that usually means the guy gets 2 saves, then he's got the job after that. They usually don't keep passing it around.
Yeah, I think whoever he gets the first shot. If he's good, that's it. If he's bad, the next man gets a shot. And again, it's hopefully it's just 6 weeks and it's an oblique. It's not a shoulder or an elbow injury for Sewald. So hopefully, you just deal with it for 6 weeks. Maybe you get a few extra starts in, you build up some Ks and wins, and it's not a big deal, right? And then I have David Robertson as a 4th closer. Leclerc, I don't really trust him either. And Robertson is a guy with experience and who was pretty good last year. So
maybe got to wait it out. That's the tricky thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or drop him. And, this is, just before the year. But for you have a team that's a lot like mine was last year, right? Like all you need is the pitching, but that's a lot, right? Pitching's a lot. And I had Dusty make a lot of good pickups and we made it work well enough to get second. We're in first for the whole month of August. And then we got caught by Danny Bronski in September, which was annoying, but we were in first for a while. We just couldn't keep it up. I like Steele. I like Bybee. Bassett's solid. Yeah, you don't have it. You need these other guys to step up because you don't have that frontline guy that you can count on.
Right.
I didn't go heavy pitching either, though. If you look at my first 9 picks, only 3 are pitchers and 1 is Sewald. So there's only 2 starting pitchers in my first 9. But I had Gallen and Bieber, and then I have Darvish, Savale, and then I have Walker Buehler, who I think he's mispriced here. Walker Buehler is coming off Tommy John after a year and a half. Right. And I think if the Dodgers needed him and they were like one of those fringe contenders that needed every win they could get, I think he'd be in the open day rotation. I just think that they're like, well, we have him, we have Kershaw. We don't need to get, 105 wins. We can get 97 wins, although the West is tough now. And we'll just let him kind of be at 100% strength for the playoffs when we really need him. And I think Buehler, maybe I'm crazy, but is going to get his 150 innings. And people project a lot of these guys for 150 innings. Like I look at Skubal, who's career high is 150, 149 innings. And I think Buehler and him are going to get the same amount of innings. Skubal had 80 innings last year. And I feel like that's kind of like a toss-up to me, Skubal versus Buehler. Buehler's not like Garrett Cole, who might be he had a setback and now he's out for the year. That's a whole different thing. He's not like Yuri Perez that you're hoping is healthy. This guy is ready to come back. It's been enough time. Sure. So to me, this is a when, not an if. And he's on the Dodgers, which, maybe.
I think the concern is, do they go 6-man rotation or something like that? And then he gets 120 innings. But again, 14th round of great ratios. I take it. I'm with you. I think that was a good pick. I like your Savali pick. I like your round 17 pick of Zach Littell and even Max Meyer in round 19. I think these are all pretty good picks by you. I hate saying it, but you have a lot of good picks there.
We got depth, at pitching. And then I think I have, look at the power, right? Turner's a shortstop with 20 homers. Seager's got a lot of power. Jordan's projected for 37 homers and everyone gives him 135 games, right? Fine, he gets hurt a lot, but what if he plays 152 games? He may get 47 homers, right? And then you may get, so you got Turner, him, and Seager. And then you got Teoscar, who, if you look at his home road splits last year, this was the guy, I didn't mention in my podcast who it was, because I was I didn't want to, anyone to hear.
Right.
But I looked at it. There's a note it's on RotoWire, and it basically says he was terrible. He couldn't see the ball at home for some reason in Seattle. And you look at the home road splits, and he was like crushed it on the road. He was terrible at home. Now he goes to Dodger Stadium, which is not a great hitter's park, but it's certainly not worse than Seattle. And he's hitting behind the Murderer's Row, who's going to be on base for him.
Right.
And I think he's going to be this year's Marcell Ozuna, the guy who hits like 38, 40 home runs, gets like 100 something RBIs, bats 270. And so I was like, I have to have him. So, and then I got Ozuna I want to say in like the 13th.
Yes, you did.
And then I got Rhys Hoskins. So I just think I may be like number one. I feel like I'm going to be like number one in home runs. So,
I got Stanton. Your guy Stanton. You let me have Stanton in the 17th,
I was
dude.
I was bummed. I was bummed about that. I needed an outfielder. I mean, I needed steals more, but so okay. So you can't snake anybody if you're picking one and I'm picking 13 until double digit rounds. Then you can snake people because you never know. A guy in round 15 could make it a whole round, right? Like a guy in round 1, of course, doesn't matter. So you snaked me. The guys I was a little bummed that you took were Stanton. Well, Jonathan India was the first one, but he probably wouldn't have made it back. But I know you're such a homer, you're going to take him. And then Stanton was one that I liked, although I got I think I got Littell that round. And then Jordan Westberg, I was kind of looking at as a because I don't, I wanted like
just got an RBI, by the way.
Somebody posted on him and I was looking more into him. So those are the two, Stanton and Westberg. And then you took Mason Wynn, who, remember I did my own rankings before I looked at ADP at all. Yeah. I had Mason Wynn as like my 20th overall shortstop and ADP is like 35. It's like the guy did everything well in the minors. He apparently is great defensively. He's going to play every day. I mean, the Cardinals are going to be better this year. They're always, they never have like 2 bad years in a row. I don't know. It just seems like that guy's going to be good. Now I had 2 shortstops and a utility and I couldn't use them. So it wasn't like an urgent thing, but I was like, damn, I was hoping to snake him for cheap later.
So I'm going to reuse the joke here because you haven't heard it yet, but everybody else has heard it a couple of times. But between Mason Wynn, Keaton Wynn, and Daniel Hudson, I had a win-win-win situation going on in my team there. So had to go that route.
Why Hudson?
You got the win. Free look.
Oh, you got the win. I get it. And he's also the backup
how much is a free win worth? I think it's worth the 22nd, 23rd round.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Because your 23rd round pick is probably dropped for the best available anyway. So you're getting a win and you still get and also he also backs up Evan Phillips. So you're getting sort of I mean it was a no-brainer for you, you know. And you're not even concussed, and it was a no-brainer.
I know. And the funny thing is, there's about 6 picks away, and the league next to us announced that. And I'm like, shut up. Because the guy was loud too, and he repeated the pick. I'm like,
oh, Hudson. I didn't think about Hudson, and he actually has a win. I should think about this. Yeah. I would have maybe considered him I wasn't thinking about the win,
because we talked in the drive up, me and Jenstad and Vlad and Tim, and we're like, okay, what is that free win worth? And I'm like, 22, 23. I kind of settled right then and there. That's when I wanted to take him. I'm like, shut up. Don't say it louder. Let us be ahead of everyone, not behind.
Well, I mean, what if Evan Phillips was the guy with the oblique instead of Sewald too? I mean, it was,
right.
It was a good.
I hated that Robert Suarez got that 4-out save because I was going to be my closer too. I like, okay, I'll probably take him at that 9-10 or that 10-11 turn and they'll push him up a little bit. Nope. He went pick 96 to Joe McHugh. I'm like, come on, it just that was the thing that was kind of crazy. Like I was on Suarez, but guess who else was on Suarez? Everybody else. You think it's your guy, but he's everybody's guy.
Yeah, I think it's almost a fade at that point because it's 1 save, 4-out save, and the Padres signed 2 guys who were like closing experience overseas, and like Suarez has never done it. Maybe he runs with it and he gets 40 saves, and he easily could happen, but. A big difference. There's a big difference between someone like Suarez who comes in and has a save, who's never done it, and someone like Raisel Iglesias, who, as long as he doesn't get hurt or crap the bed, he's getting all the saves no matter what happens. He's getting them, and people are like, oh, this is the Padres closer. This is the Braves closer. No, it's not the same thing. One guy, and I don't want to jinx Iglesias, so I have 2 leagues, but one guy just has the job because it's his job for the year. The other guy got the first save. That is not the same. That is not the same thing.
Oh, I agree. I agree, but I like Suarez's skills too. I think he's just a matter of can he stay healthy. I think he's the best pitcher out of those three, but we'll see. And like Matsui's lefty, also that's the other thing that works against him a little bit. So I think I wanted to get Suarez. He was a target, and I was annoyed that he went so early. But then again, because it was so early, it just takes away. It's like one better player that falls to me that I wanted. So, and as it turns out, I needed starting pitching anyhow, so I wasn't going to be in that market at that point in time. Side bet. We're going to do one, right? $100. Of good.
$100. The Sewald thing is just, you needed that to just even make it even. So
yes, of course. I would have been a nutless monkey, not even proposed it, but for that,
you'd be hiding from that. You'd be like, oh, thank God he didn't ask me.
$100. Oh, I forgot to bring it up this year. Oh, well, sorry.
$100. $100 isn't what it used to be. $100 is the new $20 these days.
Right. So, yeah. Well, hey, this is going to be a fun year. And I'm so glad we're in the same league because I think it's super fun that we'll have something to talk about. We'll have to do another pod later on, like halfway through the season. We'll check up on each other and all that. And you'll be checked out by then. Your legion of fab.
I wouldn't even know who's on my team at that point. I'd be like, who's on my team? Oh,
yeah.
No, I follow it very closely. I'm always watching. And what's funny is like we did this league and we talked about it and we're crowing about our teams and all this stuff. And there's like Steve Japinka in our league, who's like, one of the best players of all time.
Glenn Schroeder in our league.
Glenn Schroeder won the whole thing. Although the last time I was in a league with Glenn Schroeder, I took like 12th overall, 11th overall, one spot out of the overall money, let's say.
But you let him win the overalls because
I did give him Jake Arrieta like an idiot, one pick behind me. But yeah, so that, we're ignoring the rest of the teams. But I am pleased with how it went. You sound pretty pleased with how yours went. I think you'll change your tune in short order, but I'm glad that you're happy before the bullets actually start flying.
Yeah, well, they done flown, so we're good. But no, it's always such fun doing this league too. I just love the format. Love that Greg and Tom and Jeff's, and now Jeff is with us here as well. It's just I love having love the format, love the people doing it, love the community. Going to Vegas, it's just like Rob Silver made this point. The only thing that is bigger, I think, community wise, is First Pitch Arizona. But I don't think you've done yet.
I've never been to First Pitch Arizona.
You should.
I mean, that's a long shot.
I know,
but I do want to make it back to Vegas at some point for one of these. I really liked it. I like that like intensity. It's intense, but I almost think it's easier when you're there. I think sitting at your computer, even though you have all the screens, you're a little more like in your own mind. Whereas like just having everybody there and the sort of like the vibe of it, I
gotta say it worked out pretty well being on the edge because I'm a chatty Cathy at the draft. I can't help it. I can't talk to people. And I kind of was just on the end. You're kind of locked in a little bit better. I thought that worked out pretty well. I chimed in commentary wise here and there and definitely during the breaks, but I thought I kept my focus pretty well. And I need that these days. So I'm kind of a little butterfly otherwise there. So anyways, I think that it's, I love the live draft though. I think it's a super fun way to go. Good luck in your league this year. Safe travels. I know you're traveling this weekend, so we'll talk again soon, and hopefully let's one of us takes it down.
Yep. Good luck, man. Hopefully it's me and not you.
All right. Good luck with that. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to our sponsors as always. Thank you guys. Always fun. James Anderson had his great pod yesterday. We got Clay and Todd with 2-star starters for real tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening to RotoWire. Take care.